I often remain silent because I already know how pitiful the reply would be. Okay, you know what? Ever since I started Higurashi, I told myself, keep Yumineko as distant, from Higurashi as possible. Sure, we're gonna have, the Rika Ben Castel and possibly Satoko and the Lambda Delta kind of thing over here, but besides that, Higurashi is Higurashi and Yumineko is Yumineko. Hell, a part of me was thinking, okay, in this Ben Castel, while they are the same, they are viewed differently in each of their stories. In Yumineko, Ben Castel was a witch. But here, you could easily tell that you could easily say that Ben Castel in this would be a demon, would be considered a demon, like a completely separate thing. But no, you're just saying it's a witch. But in that case, why was I so nervous now? Hanyu gave me a disappointed look before I responded to Keiichi.
Rika.
I could tell what Hanyu was thinking too. What? The miracle wasn't going to happen. If miracles do happen, one could have happened many times in my other lives. But I've only seen one miracle before. The miracle that Keiichi gave me was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of miracle. Only if it happened again would it be a true miracle. I won't get out of this world just because I rolled 6 on the die once. I can't get out unless I get a miracle that's equivalent to getting 6 on the die 10 times in a row. And so, I rolled 10 dice, wishing that they'd all turn out to be 6.
Keiichi.
Let's keep rolling the dice. Let's create a true miracle. He looked at me worriedly after I called him his name twice.
Keiichi wa oboete imasu desu ka?
I knew how sudden my question was. As I thought he would, he looked at me with a confused face.
Eh? 覚えてるって何の話だよ?
Oh, of course, it wouldn't be that easy, I guess. He wouldn't remember just as easily. It could very well be that he will take multiple timelines. I guess... Oh, might as well just call them fragments from now on. He will take multiple fragments, multiple chapters, until Keiichi is gonna end up remembering more and more. However, we gotta stimulate Keiichi. We gotta offer him something so that he could remember more and more. I think it has something to do with friendship, with trust and all that. The more in danger he's gonna be in, and his friends are gonna be in danger, the more he's gonna remember once again. So, obviously right now, he's probably not gonna remember that much. I looked inside his eyes to see his true feelings. He should remember. He should know. Even though he doesn't have the memory, Keiichi experienced it.
何ですの、ケイイチさん。何かリカに悪いことでもしたんじゃありませんの？自分の胸によく聞いてごらんなさいですわよ。ケイイチ、学校の屋根の上に登ったことを覚えていますですか？学校の屋根？ケイイチさん、そんなとこに登ったんですの？サトコは黙っててなのです。ケイイチ、覚えていませんですか？
俺が？屋根の上に？いつ？いや、リカちゃん、それは多分他の誰かの勘違いだろ。俺屋根なんか登ったことないし、登り方だって知らないよ。
Of course, you haven't experienced it in this world yet. But please tell me that you remember. I know you've never been on a rooftop, but you should still remember doing it. You shouldn't be able to remember it, true. We actually did once. I think that he did it twice. Well, I mean, in chapter 6 he did it twice, like at the beginning and the end, with both fighting with Rena. But I think that... I feel like there was that one time when everybody was playing, like... zombies, I think it was. And at some point, Keiichi was on the roof, or somebody was on the roof of one of the school buildings. You should be able to remember it once again.
屋根の上にボールでも取りに行ったんじゃありませんの？
いや、そんな経験一度もねえよ。さとこは経験あるか？
まさか屋根の上なんて上がったら先生に怒られましたよ。
でもさ、屋根の上で昼寝とかしたら気分が良さそうだよな。
覚えてるわけないのですよ。そんな簡単に奇跡が起こるなら、僕もリカもこんな苦労はしないのですよ。
Shut up. I knew that. I knew that you wouldn't remember.
どうせまた僕たちはお祭りの終わりとともに消えてゆく夏のセミの運命なのです。うるさいな。
As I stared at her fiercely, Hanyu realized that she had crossed the line. This might be a waste of time. The maze we're in might not have an exit. It might be an endless loop without a goal in place. We are trapped in this fate. I thought that Keiichi might be able to get me out of here. But that Keiichi I saw was truly a miracle. A momentary glimmer. The Keiichi of this world doesn't bear that same miracle. All the same, I'm not going to give up. Damn right! Last time too, I gave up on fighting destiny. I realized Rena was beyond salvation, so I bid her farewell and forsook that world. But Keiichi fought and broke the cycle of fate. I should have worked harder with that Keiichi in that world. I could have broken this endless cycle together with him. Am I going to repeat this life, waiting for that miracle to happen again? I can't do that. I don't want to repeat the same life anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this world, my fate, and everything. I'm tired of getting murdered by destiny. Keiichi showed me a miracle. I should be able to do the same too. I must fight. I must fight with all my remaining power. I was always fighting. I was fighting when I had more power. But I never made it. How can I expect to win this time? Have some faith. Have some hope. A little bit of faith, a little bit of hope. You squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. You roll some butter. You add some sugar, some spice. And voila, a cake of victory. Still, I must fight. Keiichi told me that fate can be shattered. I'm going to fight one more time. Truly. Let's see what we can do in this, Rika. Alright, well. Already, we are starting this chapter on a very strong note, very differently than what I'm used to with these chapters. Very, supernatural, very interesting. Jesus. To my granddaughter. I'm sorry for leaving you like this. I just need you to understand I'd rather take my own life than be fearful of how many days I have left to live. What? That's why I'm writing this letter to you. I can't stand the fear of being unable to leave behind the wheel while my life is prolonged. Even as I lose my consciousness. In the end, there's nothing I can leave behind for you. I was unable to leave any of my achievements to this world. I was forgotten before I was dead. I lived this world a humiliated man, knowing that I had no appreciation from anyone. You must do better than me. You must achieve something that your grandfather was never able to achieve. I don't mind what field you choose. You must leave your mark on this world. You must leave behind your achievements. You will eventually die someday. You will eventually turn to ashes. As a human being, that's your inevitable fate. But if you achieve a great success, you will live forever even after you depart. Those who live beyond their deaths are called gods. I wished to become one, but I wasn't able to do so. So in my place, you must become a god someday. Okay. Interesting note right over here. I don't know if we can say that this is a suicide note or anything like that. I remember that one of Rika's parents left like a suicide note before they died. I think. But no, this is the grandfather. I think this is the first time that the story mentions the grandfather of Rika, assuming that this is a letter to Rika. If not, then I don't know whose grandfather this is, or who this letter is addressed to. I guess we shall find out soon enough. This is surely gonna be a Rika-centered chapter, that's for sure.
Hi.
Hello, Irie.
もう結構ですよ。
Irie withdrew the needle from Satoko's arm. He must not have hurt much for the needle to be pulled out. Satoko kept her eyes closed in fear, thinking that the needle was still inside her arm.
サトコ、お注射はもう終わったのですよ。あら、もう終わってたんですの。
Satoko opened her eyes. She found that Irie was no longer sitting in front of her. Takano was wiping her arm with rubbing alcohol instead. Would you look at that? Takano in a nurse outfit. This is a first.
そうよ。もう終わってたのよ。
The first time that we're seeing Takano as a nurse, to begin with.
入江先生は私よりお注射が上手だから。終わったことにも気づかなかったでしょ。傷口を揉んじゃダメよ。できれば重いものも持たないこと。
ええ、分かっていましたよ。
But don't you think that I'm not thinking of some conspiracy right over here? You're putting some deadly virus inside of her, aren't you? You. Okay.
サトコは偉いのですよ。なでなでしてあげますのです。注射くらいもう全然平気ですのよ。
Babies.
理科に撫でられるような覚えはございませんですわ。
Not long ago, she would go into a panic when it was time for her to get her shot. The way she behaved today in itself is worthy of praise. Oh, I know somebody, like a friend of mine, who is afraid of needles, like very afraid of needles. So everyone in the room smiled, aware of that growth.
じゃあ、さとこちゃんはいつもの検査を受けてください。高野さん、お願いします。
ええ。
I'm not really that afraid of needles, to be quite honest.
さあ、さとこちゃん。いつものクイズをしましょうね。
高野さんのクイズは答えにくい問題が多くて私苦手ですわね。
Quiz?
いつもと同じよ。答えづらい問題はわからないと言ってくれればいいわ。変に考え込まず自然に思いついた答えを口にしてくれればいいのよ。
Takano smiled at Satoko to ease her tension. Then she led Satoko to a desk in the back of the examination room. Yeah, this is once again Takano is showing her very caring side because she's a nurse and all that. We've seen that with Rena in chapter 6 for like the first time. We don't see that side of her that often.
サトコの具合、良いといいのです。
I don't know if it's because of the heat, but Satoko has been showing negative symptoms since last month. The change of the seasons can affect her physically and emotionally. Hold on a second. Negative symptoms. Uh-oh. It's not a surprise that this is happening to her.
私は入江たちのところへでも行って、聡子の容体を聞いてみるわ。羽生はどうする？僕は聡子のそばにいてあげますのです。ありがとう。そうしてあげて。
Hanyu went over to where Satoko was. Fortunately, I'm the only one who can see Hanyu. She won't be a distraction if she goes and observes Satoko's test. Okay, well, that is indeed a question that I was, okay, well, there's a question that I was thinking of before, and even right now. Okay, so only Rika is able to see Hanyu, apparently. That's basically being confirmed, like, right here. The question is... like, can she actually go, like long distances, or does she have to stay near Rika? Because if she can just go wherever she wants, and she doesn't have to stay near Rika like 24/7, I guess that it further proves my theory that she was the one who is following people around. Like, you hear like the footsteps as one of the symptoms of the disease and such. So, that pretty much checks out. I, of course, would be a distraction like that. This is supposed to be a routine exam, but it seems like Takano is teasing her by giving her difficult questions. It would be pretty funny to observe how Satoko reacts to them. I'm a little jealous that Hanyu gets to watch everything without being a bother to Satoko. Irie was talking with two other staff members about Satoko's exam results. I walked up and joined them.
よかった。では、解放に向かっていますか？
From what Irie was saying, her results must have turned out well.
入江、どうなのですか？
安心してください。いい結果が出ました。では、あとよろしくお願いします。
Were they? After ordering his staff to continue their work, Irie showed me some difficult paperwork and started explaining it to me.
先週の検査結果に少々焦りすぎたようです。急に気候が変わったので、交感神経が過敏に反応したのでしょう。風邪をひきかけたりということはありませんでしたか？
There was one night recently that was fairly hot. Satoko was sleeping without her blanket, and her stomach was exposed. She might have caught a cold that night.
お腹を出して寝てたことがありましたです。おへそをつっついたけど起きなかったのです。
Okay.
それは羨ましい。ぜひ今度そういうことがあったら呼んでください。私もさとこちゃんのおへそをプニプニしてみたいものです。
プニプニなのですよ。お腹もぽよぽよなのです。かわいいからお布団をかけるのがもったいないのですよ。
それがネビエの真相ですか。
リーカー、聞こえていましたよ。そういう時はこっそりお布団をかけてくださいませ。
ダメよ、さとこちゃん。検査中よ。時間も計ってるんだから、こっちに集中して。
Irie, Hanyu, and I all left. Satoko went back to her test with a bitter look on her face. Irie began speaking to me in a softer voice.
ただ、小康状態には戻りましたが、レベルはレベル3マイナス。
L3 negative?
昨日も今日も明日も、危険な状態を脱していないことに変わりはありません。
レベル3は永遠に治らないのですか？
アナフィラキシーショックと同じで、仮に異物が完全に取り除かれても、人体側に過剰な反応を示す体質が作られてしまいます。
conditioned to react severely even after the foreign chemical is out of our system. What?
つまり、
サトコは完治しても一生レベル3から治らない。
そういうことになります。ですが、悲観することはありません。規則正しい生活習慣とセルフコントロール、そしてある種の投薬を続けることによって症状の発生を抑えることができます。
Wait, hold on a second. What is this L3 stage? Is this like a Japan kind of thing where like for like the health system there, you classify like some disease as... Wait, you're saying that she has a disease. Okay, what disease? The fuck is this? Is this like how you classify somebody's lifestyle? Level... Wait, does she have like a condition that I'm not aware of?
一生治らない。
Oh, what are you talking about? Are you like I don't wanna bring up like real life examples right over here. I guess in similar fashion to like diabetes, I guess. You have like a type 2 diabetes, and it's very difficult to get out of that. Or levels of cancer, for example. I think that's the best example that I can offer. Does she have something similar to cancer? I looked at Satoko as she enjoyed taking her test. She seemed to be having fun, even while being teased by Takono. I can't believe that she's suffering from an incurable disease. Oh.
言葉を悪く言えばそうなります。ですが、世の中には難病ではあってもうまく病気と付き合っていけるケースも少なくありません。例えば、糖尿病がそうでしょう。
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
病気そのものは生涯治りませんが、その発症は抑えることができます。
I know that very well. There are many worse diseases in the world. Satoko might be in a relatively good situation compared to many other sick people.
もちろん、これで妥協するつもりはありません。さとこちゃんはきっと完治させます。絶対にです。
I mean, you know, my instinct, like, while thinking of this, my instinct also told me, wait, is this the deadly disease that we're talking about? But they wouldn't be talking about the deadly disease like openly like this. Right? It's not like we're talking about the disease that I kept theorizing up until this point, right?
信じてますですよ。
信じてください。
The idiot spoke to me with a serious look on his face. Unless, in similar fashion to how there's the possibility that Rika knows about what is going on behind the curtains, given that she has that syringe on her like all this time. Rika knows about the disease. And, of course, she would talk to Eri about this. Are they talking about the deadly disease? The virus? The parasite that makes you go paranoid, and, like, the more mistrust and paranoia you have, the worse you get? Is that it? Is this it? I don't know. Would they be talking about that? Or are we talking about a other incurable disease that people would have, like, in real life? As Satoko's best friend, I felt relieved to hear his words. I'm sure he'll do his best to save Satoko's life. I have no doubt that he'll do so. I've seen him act like this in every life I've lived. I also know why he's so passionate to save her, but I'm not supposed to know about it in this life. You know why he's so passionate to save her? That's why I always pretend not to see his sad smile. Wait, hold on. Theory time. I did say before that maybe Irie has something to do with Satoshi's disappearance, and they're doing research on Satoshi, either to like create the deadly virus or to cure Satoshi from the deadly virus / parasite or whatever. That would mean that somewhere, even until 1983, Irie is trying his best to save Satoshi while he basically disappeared. And because of that, no doubt Irie is trying his best to keep tabs on Satoko and make sure that she herself is safe too, while also trying to like work on Satoshi as well. Like there is definitely like a strong connection between Irie and the Hojo kids for sure.
そうだ、リカさん。月末にまた少し大掛かりな検査があります。
今度は僕がモルモットになる番なのですか？
そんなつもりは。医学に貢献していただいていますし、大勢の人を救うことにもなります。
Irie's guinea pig is not just Satoko. Okay, I'm also one of them. Although guinea pig is probably not the right term. Without Irie's efforts, Satoko would not be here today. For that reason, I should be showing respect to this man. I smiled at him, since my choice of words had hurt his feelings.
僕を調べてサトコの治療に役立つのなら、僕がモルモットでもいいのです。
Right.
ご協力を感謝します。もう少し人と設備とお金があれば、これだけの負担をかけないのですが。
The next moment, the phone rang. Irie answered it in his usual business-like tone.
はい、もしもし、入江です。
東京から凱旋です。そちらへ回します。
Tokyo? I could hear the voice from the phone.
ああ、リサさんですね。
Risa.
もう今年もそんな時期になりましたか。電話は所長室で取りますから、そっちへ回してください。
はい。ではすみません。そちらの受話器を一度切ってください。
わかりました。リカさん、すみません。東京からの電話です。
いってらっしゃいなのですよ。
As soon as Irie hung up the phone in the other room started ringing. He left the examination room and headed toward the office. No! Tell me about the incurable disease! Nay! Hanyu returned to my side as soon as Irie left. Hanyu doesn't like to be around me when I'm talking with Irie. Cause I don't... It could be that I'm mistaking it for like the deadly disease that I keep theorizing, and they both Rika and Irie are talking about it because they are the ones who know the most about what is going on behind the curtains. But I could be mistaken, and this could be like some completely irrelevant, well, not irrelevant, but rather like completely separate incurable disease that only Satoko has and has nothing to do with the conspiracies and such. It could be that or the other. I don't know. I don't know. Cause I don't know. I guess we shall see. Hanyu doesn't like to be around me when I'm talking with EDA. Cause if they are talking about the deadly virus that I've kept theorizing, what a slap in the face the story is trying to give me right now. Like it's slapping me in the face. I keep theorizing about one thing and now they're talking about it so openly, like right in front of me, and making me confused. I don't think she dislikes him, as if it's a natural thing that they're talking about it like right now. It's just that she doesn't really want to hear what he has to say. Idiot doesn't mean any harm, but Hanyu is often hurt by the things that come out of his mouth.
どう？サトコの様子は？サトコは相変わらず間違い探しは下手くそなのです。僕の方がいっぱい見つけられましたのですよ。あんたの検査結果なんてどうでもいいでしょ。サトコの結果はどうなの？
I thought she was there to check on Satoko, but she was taking the quiz alongside her instead. That's so typical of Hanyu. She was treating it almost like a game, but Satoko was tired after taking the same quiz every week. She seemed sleepy, especially after waking up so early this morning. The quiz in this case wasn't about a right or wrong answer. It was about timing, in minutes, how long it took her to answer the question, and observing how she acted during the quiz. Not all the questions would be simple ones, so Satoko often got headaches, more so than even the spelling test we take at school.
もうほとんど終わりなの？はいです。今、高野が持っているのが最後の一冊なのですよ。
Takano was showing a book to Satoko with abstract pictures inside. I couldn't even tell if that was supposed to be a picture. It was just a symmetrical ink stain.
さあ、これで最後よ。これは何に見えるかしら？
Both Hanyu and I looked at the picture over Satoko's shoulders. Even I didn't know what to answer when looking at that strange ink stain.
と、
Satoko continued to think. Takano observed her, taking notes while Satoko struggled. She was also timing how long it took her to answer, holding a stopwatch under the table. I spoke to Hanyu so only she could hear me.
羽生は何に見える？このシミ。ソフトクリームなのです。すべて落としてしまって地面にべっしゃりとなのです。もったいない。なるほど。実に相手の考えがわかるテストね。
To me, it looked like a horse mackerel that had been cut open and its guts pulled out. Yeah. Very typical of Ben Castell. A very typical Ben Castell kind of mentality there. I was thinking of food too. It was rather shocking to learn that my thought processes are the same as Hanyu's.
何に見えるかしら？思いつきでいいのよ。
Satoko must not be very good at this test. She always takes a long time to answer questions like this. She finally opened her mouth to speak.
2匹の蝶々が重なっている感じですわね。
2匹の蝶々が重なって。いいわよ。続けて。どうして蝶々は重なっているのかしら？
Takano continued to take notes as Satoko spoke. Curious about what she was writing, I looked. But... is that German? I can't read it at all. Time to pick up on German then. Takano is so mean.
ずっと離れ離れで会えなかった蝶々がやっと一緒になれて喜んでるところごめんなさいですわね。
Okay, to continue my thought, I'm talking about Rika. Rika should pick up on German. Since, hey, you were living through many timelines, might as well just pick up some skills. In the meantime. Not me though. I studied German in high school, but I don't remember anymore. I don't really care much about German. The second thing though, yeah, you know, you're thinking of Satoshi when you say that.
私も何を言ってるのか自分でよくわかりませんわね。
いえ、そういう答え方でいいのよ。思いついたことが抽象的なら、そのまま口にしてくれればいいの。そういう検査なんだから。
本当にこんなへんてこな絵の感想を言うだけで検査になりますの？
なるわよ。例えば今のこの絵だけど、去年のさとこちゃんは別な答えを出してるの。それを比べるだけでもこの1年のあなたの変化を測ることができるわよ。
I mean, of course.
なんだか嫌なテストですわね。去年の私はこの絵になんで答えたのでございますの？
Takano smiled and took a note without answering her question. I tried to remember what her answer was, but I have more than 100 years worth of memories in my head. Hanyu, I remember better than I do. As I looked at Hanyu, I realized she was standing there with a sad expression. Also, I love the normalcy of the situation right over here. Like, now I am looking at this from Rika's perspective with such a supernatural beginning to this chapter, far more supernatural than I've ever been through in this, and we have like a ghost partner with us, just like that, and we're just so casually taking like a medicine test right over here. I decided not to ask her. I could tell what kind of answer Satoko gave back then, just by looking at Hanyu's face. Last year, June 1982, that was when Satoko was being abused by her cruel aunt. Recalling that, I didn't even want to know what Satoko answered. Was it... like, if I'm to think about it, like, I can kind of picture what they're talking about. Like, one butterfly is on top of another. Yeah. Kind of makes me think that Satoko is subconsciously thinking that Satoshi murdered the aunt, and Satoshi would be on top of the dead body of the aunt. That's a kind of fucked up image that pops in my head right now, thinking about it. But just a year later, the Satoko who was so worn down could no longer be seen. She became so strong. I know how difficult it was for her to stay tough and strong like this. Man, you know, it sucks, because we know how much Satoko wants to see her Nini like come back. Here we see a hopeful side to Satoko, but remember that in the last chapter when we were like we saw Rena and talked to her at the construction site, Satoko had her moment of saying, well, Satoshi's never gonna come back. And like, there are moments like that too. I remember that.
Ken-san, 終わりましたか?
Irie returned from his office.
ええ、終わりましたわ。
だいぶさとこちゃんも手際が良くなりましたわ。今日はだいぶ早く終わりましたのよ。
早く終わらせるように頑張ったんですもの。今日は用事がある日だからのんびりとはできませんのよ。
おや？今日は何かあるんですか？日曜日ではありませんでしたっけ？
今日はみんなでミーのおじさんのおもちゃ屋さんで部活があるのですよ。
Alright.
なるほど。さとこちゃんが妙に今日はおとなしく検査に従ってくださると思いました。予定が詰まっていたんですね。それは悪いことをしました。ではさとこちゃん、これはいつものです。
Irie put a big paper bag on the table. He opened it up and gave her instructions about the medications. Satoko had heard the same instructions over and over before, but Irie still continued to talk just the same.
状態がいいようですので、お注射はこれまでの日に2回に戻します。
2 shots per day.
昼食前と就寝前の2回に必ず注射をしてください。
Please give yourself a shot before lunch and before you go to bed. Okay, I'm trying to think about the incurable disease that they're talking about. I mean, excluding like the deadly virus, Irie before offered he said it himself, he offered diabetes as an example. So clearly, they're not talking about diabetes right here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have offered that as an example.
注射針は必ず変えるように。同じ針を2度使ってはいけませんよ。それからこちらは、どうしても体調が悪くなった時のみ食後に。
はいはいはい、いつもと同じですわよ。分かっていましたよ。
Satoko couldn't wait to meet our friends for the club activity. It made me feel happy to see her as excited as this.
注射2本に戻りましたのですよ。よかったのです。
The number of shots she has to take each day represents how well she's doing. So it's a good thing that she has to take fewer shots.
大変よね。1日に2本も注射を打つのは。
Hanyu grew quiet after hearing my comment. Irie handed her the paper bag after he finished his instructions.
リカ、終わりましたよ。
ええ、お疲れ様。検査中からずっとそわそわしてたからね。いってらっしゃいな。
すみませんわね、上の空で。いつも検査をしてくださって感謝していますのよ。
ほら、もう時間がないんじゃないの？私の車で送ろうかしら。そうそう。また車に新しいぬいぐるみがあるのよ。今度は約束通り、さとこちゃんが名前をつけてくれていいわよ。
あら、何のぬいぐるみでございますかしら。どんな名前にしようか迷いますわね。何の動物のぬいぐるみなんですの？
また猫なのよ。今度は虎島なの。可愛いからきっと気に入ってくれるわよ。
Satoko and Takano are good friends. They're both fond of stuffed animals. Every time Takano gets a new one, she brags about it to Satoko. That's all they have in common, but... They're good friends. They're both fond of stuffed animals. My god. That's cute. That even Takano has that kind of fondness for stuffed animals. Having a friend like Takano is a special thing for Sato. She's part of the Hojo family who tried to betray the village. People at the clinic are the only adults who will even talk to Satoko.
じゃあお二人とも部活行ってらっしゃい。罰ゲームが未定でしたらぜひメイド服の着用を提案してくださいね。サイズから種類までいろいろと取り揃えておりますので。
Sure.
また来週お会いしましょう。
やなこったなのですよ。また来週なのです。さ、行きましょうですわ。今日は部活メンバーだけじゃありませんものね。腕が鳴りましたよ。
I bowed slightly and made to leave the examination room, but I soon realized something. Irie was looking at me with a sad expression on his face. And just with that look, I could tell what he wanted to say. Please take care of Satoko-chan if something happens to her. I nodded at him and stepped out into the hallway with Satoko.
やれやれ。検査は慣れても疲れますわね。検査、お嫌なのですか？めんどくさいから嫌ではありますけど、これも仕事ですもの。仕方ありませんわ。
Satoko is supporting Irie's research. She gets financial support by helping him out. Or at least, that's what Satoko thinks she's doing. Satoko was bursting with enthusiasm, so we headed to Okinomiya at full speed. Alright. We wound up waiting for Keiichi and the other club members for a long time. We got here early, but they were late. I think they were late the last time we did this too. Did it mean that this was something that was meant to happen? It's unpleasant that I can't even change the most minor of fates. I finally saw them coming toward us on their bikes.
皆様方、お待ちしてましたよ。
Satoko acted like she was upset, but I could tell that she was pleased to see them just the same.
さとこが可愛いの そこが飽きないのよ。可愛すぎる。
Satoko's behavior soothes my feelings of frustration. And this is why I love Satoko. If she was a small fluffy animal, I would definitely keep her in a cage.
さとこちゃん、リカちゃん、おはよう。おはようございますなのです。
おはようリカちゃん。サトコ、警察が来る前にケリをつけるぞ。目標は10億強奪だ。
圭一さんの話がわかりませんわ。遅くなったかな。リカちゃんたちは今来たの？今日は早く終わったのでだいぶ待ってましたですよ。
Mione did not know that Satoko gets a checkup every Sunday at the clinic.
そりゃあ悪いことしたわ。こっちはケイちゃんがなかなか来なくてさ。
That Keiji. So he's the reason they're always late.
圭一では仕方ありませんですよ。ミパ
ちょい待て。俺が悪役になれば丸く収まるのかよ。
Yes.
ーン。もちろん圭一さんでなくては務まらない大役でしたよ。
実に嫌な大役だな。こんなので丸く収まると思ったら大間違いだぞ。
Keiji and Satoko messed around with each other. Satoko acted like she was crying, and Rena punched Keiji, knocking him out cold. He was the same old situation they always got into. I can watch this sort of thing forever. It's like having a glass of cold milk after taking a hot bath.
やっぱりこれが正しい丸い収め方だよな。
前歯が欠ける前に新しいオチを探した方がいいと思うけどね。
We all laughed at him and finished greeting each other.
今日もみんなとっても元気なのです。元気に勝る宝はないわね。そんなこと言ってるとリカはどんどん老け込んじゃいますのです。
One could say that she is even wiser than the oldest lady in the world at this point.
うるさいな。誰のせいだと思ってんのよ。当分甘いものを食べるのやめるわよ。
Jesus. Hanyu seemed to be getting more depressed than usual. I should stop teasing her so much.
嘘よ。冗談だからあんまりひっつかないで。ごめんなさいなのです。
Hanyu loves sweet treats. She especially loves cake and ice cream. Since she can't eat anything, she has to depend on me when it comes to that. Alright, well, again, I'm bringing back the discussion of Ben Costello. We know how, like, for those of us who have read Yumineko, we know how sadistic and mean Ben Costello can get. She's surely displaying some of that here, that's for sure. Cats in cages and cute things stuffed in cages and being this mean to Hanyu. My god. In other words, whatever I eat, Hanyu can taste too. Even if Hanyu craves something, it doesn't mean anything if I don't eat it. In other words, I have total control of what she eats. Okay. That's why it's fun to tease her with saying that what I'll eat and what I won't. It's almost as fun as teasing Satoko.
はあ、リカちゃんは今日もご機嫌だね。お持ち帰り。
はいはい、お持ち帰ったら犯罪だからね。
ミオン、店のおじさんが呼んでるぜ。
リカ、聞きまして。今日の部活、賞金が出るんだそうですのよ。
I remember. Mian was going to be paying 50,000 yen out of her pocket as a prize. I'm looking at the toys in this shop right over here. I can't believe she could just afford that. Therefore, I have to assume that she has some kind of guarantee that she won't lose.
なんと5万円でしたよ。5万円。
Satoko stared at me. Oh no. She was expecting me to be surprised to hear that the prize was 50,000 yen. It's natural to be surprised after hearing that sum. But I didn't react because I already knew it. Perhaps I gave the impression that I've known it for a long time.
ケイチさん、5万円なんてすごい賞金と思いませんですこと？
5万円？なんだよそれ。ケイチ王国の5年分の GNP に匹敵するぞ。
Satoko said the same thing to Keiichi. She probably assumed that I wasn't listening to her. So she decided to talk to Keiichi instead.
小さなミスよ。大丈夫。5万円もあれば、もうずっと使い切れないくらいのお醤油が買えますです。なんで5万円分もお醤油を買わないといけないんですの？お醤油を買ってきてと言ってもめんどくさがる人がいるからなのですよ。みぱーん。リカって結構根に持ちますのね。
5万円分の醤油って一体どのくらいだよ。すげえ量になりそうだな。
Keiichi joined the conversation, which finally brought us back to our normal pace. In order to pursue a greater happiness, I need to sacrifice a small one. In a perfect world, Rika Furude was supposed to be surprised to hear from her best friend that the prize was 50,000 yen. But I already knew that. I knew it from my previous lives, so all I could do was give her a boring reaction. I can't be surprised at the big prize of 50,000 yen. I can't give her the reaction that she expects from me. I'm losing the ability to be surprised by life. You know, there are times in life, especially in recent years and all that I'm kinda feeling dejected at myself for not reacting like strongly at certain situations. Like almost as if, oh, I am learning about this. Not that surprising to me. Like, I look at this weird thing on the internet and it doesn't surprise me that much. It doesn't shock me. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't make me laugh. So I can kinda understand what Rika is going through over here. Now, of course, her case is a bit more extreme because she's going through all these timelines, fragments, that is, chapters. That, yeah. And after the continual repetition of small incidents like this, there will be nothing left that I can find interesting. I'll have nothing to be surprised about. I'll never be impressed with anything. Eventually, I'll lose all my emotions entirely. And that's why I'm always trying to be careful. I make sure I act like the Rika Furude who doesn't know anything. Even though I may not be so impressed, as a young girl, Rika Furude should be impressed with many things. Rika Furude is supposed to act excited when she encounters something for the first time. I try to, at least. But the more and more I try, the more I feel like Rika Furude is someone very distant.
リカ、ごめん。こういうことで感情を灰色にすると、また寿命が縮んじゃうわね。 世界をもっと楽しまなきゃ。
I don't mean my lifespan, literally. I'm not referring to my physical lifespan, but my mental one. The more and more I repeat the same days, the more I lose. From wonder to passion, and eventually my life will become like an overplayed videotape. If I'm tired of that tape, I have a choice to close my eyes and sleep. By the time I wake up, the video should be over. But in reality, my life is not a beat-up old videotape. If I close my eyes and sleep, that will be my death. When my mental lifespan is over, Rika Furude will turn into a doll who can't even move a finger by her own will. When that happens, my pursuit of happiness will be over. I don't want that to happen. It's been at least 100 years, if not more. I've been stuck in this living hell for so long. I don't want my life to end here.
ごめん。もう大丈夫。100年程度で愚痴ってたら、あんたに笑われちゃうものね。僕はもう運命に慣れていますのですから。よし、大丈夫。私はフルで理解。私はフルで理解。
I guess this brings up the question of Hanyu's existence right over here, because, okay, it's understandable that Rika would eventually go through this and feel the way she feels. But what about Hanyu? She herself is repeating these same days as Rika. Like, what is she? Like, Hanyu acts like, as far as I can see, in similar fashion to your typical girl. Like, getting excited over ice cream or getting excited over what the others are doing. Is she pretending as well, like, to fake her feelings, when in actuality she is just as depressed as Rika? Or even after all this time, she just keeps being like this, like, she still is excited about things like this, in which case, that's very impressive. Like, I don't know what to make of Hanyu in this case, since they're both living neck and neck through these fragments. If I don't stay focused on being Rika Furude, I'm afraid I might end up showing my true self inside of that shell. Rika Furude is supposed to be a cute and innocent little girl after all.
レナだったら5万円で何を買いますですか？ケンタくん人形とか売ってもらえないのかな？フライドチキン屋さんに5万円持ってったら売ってくれないかな？はあ、その5万円で鎖を切る工具と第8車を買った方が早いと思いますです。レナさんだったら素手で鎖を引きちぎりかねませんわね。
違いない違いない。
はあ、ひどい。
Thus we rejoin the typical flow conversation naturally. Once I enter that flow, it's not hard for me to continue as Rika Furude. Being Rika Furude is like flying a kite for me. Once it's up in the air, it can stay in the sky for a while. But if something happens and it loses control, it's one heck of a challenge to get it back on track. Every time it tries to get back up in the air, the kite gets dragged on the ground and wears out. I'm exactly like that. Finally, Mion started clapping her hands to get everyone's attention. I guess in similar fashion, like, if you don't have wind that propels you forward, the kite is not going to be able to fly for much longer in the sky. Like, the wind is going to get more and more rare, and you won't even be able to fly that much anymore in the future if things keep going the way they are. I already knew the rules. The members will be broken into 5 different groups, and each group plays a game that they choose together. Oh, so we're doing the same game as in chapter 2 and 5? Oh god. I was secretly hoping that Mion would change the rules for some reason. There's nothing more boring than to already know what was going to happen.
ミオンの部活って割と気まぐれなことが多いもの。ひょっとするとルールは違うこともあるかも。普段ならそういうこともあると思いますですが、今日はきっと何日も前から計画していたことだと思うのです。
I mean, you know, going back to what we discussed in like the previous part in the Sea of Fragments, the games are always going to be different. I mean, to an extent, that is. There's a limit. Like, of course, there's like eventually we're going to have like repeat games like this, but like the games will change. It's just that the constant is that Mion is always going to want to play games with the kids, no matter what. But bottom line, you know, at least Rika, whenever she goes through these fragments, some things are gonna change from time to time. They're not always gonna be the exact same. Like say, in Groundhog Day, or All You Need Is Kill. Now of course, at some point, even after all these varied fragments, there are gonna be some repeat moments, and after a while, that's when you're gonna become dejected, like depressed, after repeating like so much. There's only so much you can do in Hinamizawa, I guess, in this time span. But nonetheless, Rika has managed to survive up until this point for like 100 years because of at least some level of variety in these fragments.
強い意志は運命になりやすい。だったわね。
It's just that now she's hitting her limit because we basically like played every single game in existence in Rika's perspective. Normally when we're doing club activities, Mion decides what to play at the last minute. She opens her locker and randomly decides what game to play. For that reason, our club activities are rarely repeated throughout my lives. That's why I'm never bored with them. But just as Hanyu said, today's event was something that Mion had been planning for a while. I was certain she won't suggest anything spontaneously today. In that case, this won't be up to random chance. Mion had only one idea in her mind. Therefore, it was equivalent to destiny. Although her idea of having this event in the toy store is actually a spontaneous one, in all the lives I've repeated, there's a very low chance for this event to occur.
だから、あまりそういうのは期待しない方がいいのです。期待してるわけじゃないわ。
Of course, I was lying just now. I was hoping that Mion would suggest a new rule for this game. If it was the same rules again, I'd be suffering for a few minutes while I listened to her instructions. Nothing is more frustrating than walking the same path over and over again. Please, Mion, please change my fate. Please.
まずはくじ引きで5つの択に分かれるよ。
Jesus Christ. To think that Rika is suffering during even these kinds of moments where she's thinking that the game is going to be the same. Even begging Mion to change something different. Otherwise, she's going to suffer inside for like a couple of minutes. My god.
そして各択から1人の勝者を出して。
It was the same rules after all.
ごめん。ちょっと期待した。変な期待はかえって理科を傷つけますですよ。そうね。何度も教えられてるのに私も学ばないわね。
Jesus Christ. Hanyu has taught me so many times. She taught me the trick to swimming in the flow of destiny. The flow of destiny is just like a river's. By going with the flow, I can swim the direction I want to some extent. But of course, trying to swim against the flow requires great effort. Allowing myself to drift causes the least amount of strain. Of course, some strong currents are impossible to resist, even with great effort. If I recklessly try to resist without realizing it's impossible, then I'll only wear myself out needlessly, just as if fighting a river's current. So Hanyu taught me to read those currents, which is why I should have easily imagined that the rules would be the same the moment I learned Mion had planned today's event in advance. Yet I still wish the rules would be different. A completely wasteful action. I don't know. Hanyu so far seems to be quite a pessimistic fuck. I don't know what to tell you, Rika. From what she's telling all this time. In the end, my hopes were betrayed, only leaving my heart worn out. Just because you are learning the information that, oh, Mion planned this, doesn't necessarily mean that she plans the exact same thing. That's not a indication that, oh, it's gonna be the exact same. That's stupid. And things like that cause me to separate further from Rika Furude. Like, in similar fashion to how something unplanned can make like different scenarios, so it is when you try to think of a plan that you will unfold as soon as you play the game, like days earlier. Like, maybe she was thinking of something else. Maybe she decided to eat some burgers and decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it like this, or something like that. I don't fucking know. Eventually I'll grow tired of everything, lose all interest, and die.
抗えない運命は受け入れる。
リカなら運命の流れを読むことができますですよ。
そうよね。ただでさえ短い残りの寿命、大事にしないとね。
I sighed, and pretended as though I was listening to what Mion was explaining.
どうしたんだ、リカちゃん。退屈なのか？
Keiichi surprised me all of a sudden.
退屈って僕がですか？
And this had never happened before, so I thought he was talking to someone else. But it seemed like Keiichi really was talking to me.
うん。なんか今朝は会ってからずっと退屈そうな顔をしてるからさ。ひょっとして早起きしすぎて寝不足なのか？
You know what, folks? Let me say this about Keiichi right over here. Since we are going from, since we're doing Rika's perspective over here, and I don't know if we're gonna go back to Keiichi's perspective in this or not. I guess we shall see, because you know, Chapter 6 was switching sides between Keiichi and Rena. Obviously, because they were like the main characters. I don't know a bit about this chapter. If only Rika, we're gonna see her perspective, or other people. Either way, since we've learned that Keiichi was able to see into other fragments in the last chapters, it does make you question how much Keiichi's gonna do in this. But more importantly, it kind of makes you think a little bit. What is Keiichi thinking right now? Is he unaware and he is asking all this stuff without being aware? Or is he asking Rika in a subtle way, knowing what Rika is going through, but he doesn't want to poke the bear yet, for some reason? Maybe he has transcended and we don't know yet. maybe Keiichi has transcended and now he is acting in a very weird way that we haven't seen up until this point, aka Keiichi just poking Rika a little bit with this kind of question right here, knowing full well what Rika is going through. I don't know.
前に同じ部活をやったことがあるので、またなのかと思っただけなのです。
No one will understand what I mean anyway. but Keiichi might. And so I told him how I honestly felt.
なんだそうなのか？なんだミオンめ。道理で手慣れてると思ったぜ。ま、俺は初めての参加だから十分楽しみだけどな。
I envied him for feeling that way. I sighed, knowing that I never will.
確かに、すでに知ってる説明を延々と繰り返されると苦痛な時ってあるよな。俺も昔、塾で学校のだいぶ先まで習っててさ、遅れて習う学校が苦痛だったことがあるよ。
Keiichi didn't understand me, but I'm glad that at least he understood how frustrating it was to repeat the same situation. Hold on. Let him cook.
そうなのです。僕も学校は特に苦痛なのですよ。
え？本当かよ。いつも楽しそうにしてるじゃないかよ。
Rika Furuta is supposed to be happy at school. That's why I act that way. Ah, see? You know, if I have to think, okay, maybe from now on we shall go with the Keiichi has transcended theory for this chapter. We shall see how far we're gonna go with that. But you know what? If I'm to go with that, and Keiichi is poking Rika, knowing full well what Rika is going through because of the last chapter and like being able to see the other fragments, I wonder if Keiichi's plan right over here is to talk to Rika about her honest feelings so that something will change. Because up until this point, obviously Rika has been pretending, like, you know, to keep a smile and go through these timelines, fragments, in order to, and maybe try stuff like differently each time. But maybe Keiichi is gonna try and poke Rika in a way that makes her more honest in this. And maybe through more honesty from Rika, maybe through connecting with Keiichi through this, something different is gonna happen. And that's what Keiichi is trying to achieve out of here. To, first things first, connect with Rika on this new supernatural level and have her be honest. And slowly but surely, at some point, they're gonna be talking about what both of them are going through.
すでに知っていることを延々と聞き続けなければならないのは拷問以外の何者でもないと思いますのです。
It's easy for me to change what Satoko cooks for dinner. I can simply volunteer to cook instead of her. But I can't change what the teacher teaches at school every day. I have no choice but to be quiet and listen to her lecture.
まあ授業はどうしようもないよな。俺はそこを塾で習ってますから、その次をやってくださいなんて生意気言ったらいろいろと怒られるもんな。でもこいつは違うぜ。遊びじゃないか。
遊びではありますが決まってるのですよ。
わかんねえぜ。だって5択に分かれるのはくじ引きだそうじゃないか。しかもそれぞれの択で何のゲームをやるかは任意に決めることになってる。
True enough.
今日どんなゲームで戦わされてどんな展開で盛り上がるかなんか全然想像がつかねえぜ。
予想はつきますですよ。
そんなことねえよ。
Keiichi smiled as he contradicted me. That smile seemed so ignorant to me.
くじ引きで5択に分かれますですが部活メンバーはきれいに5択に分かれますです。
Okay, well, let's see. Are these groups going to be exactly the same as in Chapter 2?
圭一はあそこ、僕はそこの択なのです。そして僕は魚釣りのゲームをすることになります。圭一はすごろくの100億長者ゲームなのです。
I don't know how, but last time we were broken into 5 separate groups. It couldn't have been a coincidence. I'm sure Mion did something to ensure it would end up like that. I'm 100% sure. As for the games we play, I'm not totally sure, but if each member in the group follows the same thinking patterns, they'll probably end up making the same choices. If you roll dice many times, you begin to approach the average. One person's spontaneous act can be random, but multiple people's thoughts can be averaged out, for the most part. True enough, I mean, you play in a team, like, everybody may act differently, but the win is gonna be the same. Like, the team is gonna win. That would be the average, I guess. The more people that are involved, the more difficult it is to alter the path of fate. That's why I'm pretty sure that we'll end up playing the same games. Keiichi seems surprised to hear my prediction.
なんだよそれ。予言か？よくそこまで言い切れるじゃねえか。
運命とはそういうものなのです。
へへ、運命なんて言われるとよ、意地でも抗ってみたくなるのが男ってもんだよな。
He smiled at me again. I knew that he was just smiling without reason. I felt a small hope from him. That's why I'm saying, let him cook. Keiichi has transcendent fury. Let's go. After all, Keiichi really did shatter fate before. But that was just a miracle that happened in my previous life. I couldn't expect him to do the same thing in this one. Otherwise, I will be worn down by my high expectations again.
はい、くじ引きはこの箱の中から1枚引いて決めよう。
Alright, well, let's see.
まず部活メンバーからね。
Mion drew first. Then Satoko followed. The results were the same as the last time.
初戦で部活メンバーとは当たりたくねえな。もしリカちゃんと当たったらごめんよ。
当たりませんですよ。圭一の卓はあそこ。僕の卓はそこなのです。
ちぇ、そううまくいってたまるかよ。うりゃ。
Keiichi looked upset.
ね。僕の予言は外れないのです。
5択の一つってことは 20% だもんな。適当に言ったってそれだけの確率で当たるってことさ。
Keiichi told me that it was just a coincidence.
なら、僕のくじも予想通りだったなら、何%の確率になりますですか？
20% の 20% だから 4% だな。さすがにこの確率だったら信じてもいいぜ。
Keiichi grinned at me, believing such a chance was impossible.
さあ、最後はリカちゃんだよ。
Mion handed me the box of slips. Alright, no matter what I did, I'd be getting that table. And there was a reason behind it. Mion was doing something to make sure that we all get a different table. I thought about why Mion would do that. With the information I've gathered about Mion over many years, I could see her reasoning.
多分、ミオンは部活のメンバーの誰かが1回戦で負けてしまったら気の毒だと思っているのでしょう。
そうね。同じ卓に部活メンバーがぶつかり合ったら、どちらかのメンバーは必ず敗退することになる。
Okay, I'll give you 1 point there, Hanyu. I'm keeping my eyes on you on your pessimistic view, but you do have a point over there. In fact, I think that was a point of discussion in chapter 2 as well. I think that we noticed that detail in the narration as well, that okay, each of our lovely club members are at different tables because Mion surely knows that we would win our each respective table, so that we would end up in like the last stage where we would go against each other, which would be more fun. That's okay, that is something that you can plan out, but nonetheless, we can work with that as well if we want to change something. Like for example, in the last stage, maybe a different win is gonna happen. If everyone is in a different group, we'd all have a chance to move on to the second stage. And that's why she was controlling this draw. I put my hand inside of the box. I could feel several folded pieces of paper inside of it.